You're watching This Week in Louisiana Politics with Fred Childers.
Good morning, I'm Fred Childers. We hope you're having a great weekend. Thanks for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics on your local election headquarters. Well, it's been rumored for months, but this week it became official. Attorney General Jeff Landry is running for governor of Louisiana. He's launched his campaign with a lengthy video about what he hopes to achieve in that seat. Capitol reporter Shannon Hecht breaks it all down for us.
Jeff Landry launched his campaign with a laundry list of issues he's tired of and looks to change should he be elected.
What we have in Louisiana right now is a complete crisis of leadership and a lack of priorities.
He brought up statistics of children struggling to read or do basic math and blames liberal school boards for forcing an agenda and not teaching kids well enough. He also attributes poor government for the high crime rates across the state.
Incompetent mayors and woke district attorneys are playing a dangerous game of catch and release. In New Orleans, people are scared to pump gas or walk to their cars. Our capital city has one of the highest murder rates in the nation.
Landry has served as the Louisiana Attorney General since 2016. Before that, he served as a congressman for 2 years from 2010 to 2012 before Louisiana lost one of its seats. He was once voted one of the most conservative members of Congress.
I'm tired of people leaving our state, and I'm angry that our children's education is not a priority. I'm sick of our big cities being run like third world nations.
He now looks to take Louisiana's highest office. For your local election headquarters, I'm Shannon Hecht.
As of now, no one else has officially announced they're running for governor, but Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser has said he plans to run. The primary election for the gubernatorial race will be October 14th of 2023, and the runoff election will be November 18th of 2023. A ways off, but it'll probably be here before you know it. The announcement from Landry was met with a wide range of reaction. While at an event promoting infrastructure, Governor John Bel Edwards was asked if he will be endorsing any candidates and how he feels about Jeff Landry running.
Look, I'm sure that there'll come a time for that. We don't know today who all's going to run. I suspect there are people talking about running who won't, and some people who haven't ever mentioned it who will. At some point early next year, I think we'll have a better idea what the lineup is, and we'll have to have at that point some people actually staking out positions on the issues. And so that day is coming, but it's not today. No, I'm not announcing any support today, but you can bet it won't be Jeff Landry.
Imagine that. Landry had previously considered running against Edwards in the past, but decided not to. New Orleans Mayor Latoya Cantrell says she will repay her $30,000 in travel expenses that has had her locked in controversy for weeks now. The mayor did acknowledge that she previously said she would not pay that money back, but now she is moving forward. She has been under fire for months about her travels abroad this year, saying she needed to fly with upgrades for her health and safety.
Based on the policy review of the CAO, as well as the law department, it is very clear that business was done on behalf of the city of New Orleans. However, I will have to reimburse the city for those business expenses.
There's no word on how quickly the mayor will repay the city the money that she owes. This comes after the mayor was also criticized for her use of a city-owned apartment in the French Quarter. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court took up the congressional maps for Alabama, which will have a major impact for Louisiana's case that awaits a hearing. Advocates rallied at the state capitol to push for a second majority minority district. Shannon Hecht caught up with them to hear their message.
As the Alabama redistricting case is heard in front of the Supreme Court today, advocates here in Louisiana are renewing their message for fair maps. The Republican majority of the Louisiana legislature voted to pass congressional maps that kept only one majority-minority district, anchored in both Baton Rouge and New Orleans. The case on if those maps violated the Voting Rights Act now rests with the U.S. Supreme Court. Advocates at home are continuing their push for the map to be overturned.
No matter what the United States Supreme Court does or attempts to do, we will keep fighting for justice, because we know that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
The Louisiana GOP argued creating 2 majority-minority districts would have too slim of margins for a minority candidate to be elected. The law only requires a district to be 50% plus 1 to be considered a majority-minority.
They will not just impact our ability to vote for the people that we want to, rather than people choosing who their voters will be. But these are decisions that will impact our children and our grandchildren.
With the latest census showing about a third of the state's population is black, advocates say a third of the congressional seats need to be majority-minority. It'll be months before a decision is made on the Alabama case and when we will know when the Louisiana maps will be in front of the Supreme Court, but we'll be following that closely. At the Capitol for your local election headquarters, I'm Shannon Hecht.
As calls for more safety in schools ramp up, the Louisiana Department of Education created a mobile app for kids to report suspicious activity anonymously. State Superintendent Cade Brumley partnered with Crime Stoppers, GNO, and law enforcement to create a new school safety program. It's called Safe Schools Louisiana. They are encouraging school systems to adopt it.
Say It Here mobile app allows users to anonymously report bullying, violence, criminal activity, mental health at no charge, essentially to systems across the state.
State police leaders say the app is not mandatory for every school district to use. However, it's the only program that brings police, educators, and advocates to the same space. Livingston, West Baton Rouge, and Assumption parishes are among some of the districts using the app. Lawmakers are also getting a bite at the apple when it comes to school safety. A study commission is taking a closer look at how schools can be made safer. This committee was born out of a failed bill last year that looked to potentially arm teachers, among other strategies. In this meeting, they heard from Brumley about the new app and other ways they are working to protect kids. Coming up, political ads for one of Louisiana's Senate seats are now airing. We'll have some analysis of those messages to you, the voter, and lawmakers in Louisiana sounding off on a return of high gas prices. Stay with us.
This is your local election headquarters.
Welcome back. Well, the highly political issue of gas prices is once again in play after OPEC decided to sharply cut oil production by 2 million barrels a day. Now, that move, which is expected to raise the price of gas, has our Louisiana delegation talking. Congressman Clay Higgins sent a letter to the president to rapidly increase U.S. production of oil to meet the demand. Garrett Graves said, quote, "The Biden administration has had every opportunity to insulate us from foreign energy dependence, but instead they have become their own worst enemy and are a direct threat to global energy security. Oil is trading well below its summer peaks because of fears that major global economies such as the U.S. or Europe will sink into recession." We are about a month away from the primary election for the U.S. Senate seat here in Louisiana. Senator John Kennedy, who is vying for re-election, released a new ad that is getting some attention. Shannon Hecht spoke with a Southern University political science professor on how these ads impact elections.
Political ads are in full swing as Louisiana inches closer to Election Day. Incumbent Senator John Kennedy released an ad this week that has many people talking. In the ad, he talks about the high crime rates in the state and says if you hate cops because they're cops, call a crackhead. Southern University political science professor Albert Samuels says it is following the national trend of focusing on crime to take the heat off the abortion debate.
You got some Republicans who don't want anybody to remember that they were actually against choice.
This election cycle also has seen ads from Gary Chambers that have shown him smoking marijuana and burning a Confederate flag that's gotten national attention.
Some of what he's doing is simply to get name recognition. But it also sort of reflects this idea that Louisiana is not as conservative, is not as red as it appears. That in fact, what Louisiana is just it's a non-voting state.
Candidate Luke Mixon has strayed away from the more controversial advertisements to maintain the more moderate role. But Samuels says Kennedy is still pulling out the big margins of support.
This particular race still appears to be John Kennedy's race to lose.
Election day is November 8th, and if a candidate gets more than 50% of the vote, there will not be a runoff. For your local election headquarters, I'm Shannon Hecht.
Another ad is causing a stir online, this coming from a Democrat who is looking to take on Steve Scalise for his seat in Congress. Katie Darling, seen as a long shot win, said she was 7 months pregnant when she decided to join the race in reaction to the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in June that ended constitutional protections for abortion. The video shows her giving birth in a St. Tammany hospital in September. She says it was important for her to share her real story with voters. Coming up, Republican State Representative John Stefanski wants to be the state's top attorney. Shannon Hecht talks to him about the issues that matter to voters. Stay with us.
This is your local election headquarters.
We're tracking elections already for 2023, and a new member has thrown their hat in the ring for the Attorney General's race that'll be taking place today. I'm joined by State Representative John Stefanski. John, thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So this is a major office that you're running for this year. So can you tell me a little bit, first off, why you want to run for Attorney General?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, growing up, I was taught service at a young age. My dad was a Green Beret. My mom was a public school teacher. And so that was kind of instilled in me from a very young age. And I love serving the state. I've been doing that as the state representative for the last 6 going on 7 years. And I'm just excited about this opportunity. You know, Louisiana has a lot of things that we need to fix. And one of those things is violent crime. And as the Attorney General, you have an ability to be able to affect that. And so that's something that I'm very passionate about. But at the end of the day, I just love serving the state, and I want to continue to do that.
And we know a bit of your background in the state legislature, but can you kind of tell folks, you know, outside of Crowley, your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an attorney by trade. I've been doing that for the past 11 years. And so enjoying that, I practice law at a very small law firm in Crowley, where we do basically everything that walks in the door, which has given me a really great base which to be able to put myself out there for Attorney General. The Attorney General's office handles so many different areas of the law that you really have to have a diverse background in order to be able to be prepared to manage all of that. And so, like I said, born and raised in Crowley, went to LSU, went to Loyola for law school, and moved back home to practice with my dad, which is what I've always wanted to do, and really enjoyed that the past 11 years.
Right, and you mentioned violent crime is something that you already want to tackle. So as the AG, how would you specifically tackle that issue? And is there any other key topics that you're really trying to hit on?
Yeah, you know, the AG's office has the ability to be able to directly affect that. They have a relationship with all of the DAs and all of law enforcement throughout the state, and they play an important role of both of those entities interacting with each other. I would look to expand that. I would look to directly go into areas where you see really high rises in violent crime, specifically our major metro areas, and offered the full support of that office. And from a policy perspective, we'll be rolling out those ideas and the specifics of what we're going to do over the coming months.
And the Attorney General's office can be kind of a polarizing subject. A lot of people have opinions on Attorney General Jeff Landry. Is there anything that you see currently in the office or in past administrations that you really are hoping to change or do differently?
I think the leader of that office, a lot of it has to do with their personality and how they interact with people. I don't really want to focus on what people have done in the past. I just want to focus on myself. I've shown for the past 6-7 years that I can build coalitions, that have the ability to be able to work with anybody. And so I'd like to continue that going forward. And that's not a knock on anyone in the current office or who has served there previously. It's just more about myself and my ability to be able to, in the way that I've served Louisiana thus far.
And over the last year, you've been a leader in the redistricting process at the state legislature. Do you feel that that's really helped prepare you for this kind of work that you'd be going into should you be elected? And also, how else has working in the legislature really helped you kind of pave this path to AG?
Yeah, so what I would tell you specifically about handling redistricting is, we dealt with a lot of federal law during that process, which is an important part of the redistricting process. It also gave me the ability to spend a lot of time with my colleagues who represent very diverse backgrounds, all different areas of the state. And then I had the opportunity to travel to all those areas of the state and really meet the people in the various areas of Louisiana. So it was eye-opening. It really was understanding our geography better, understanding our communities of interest, and then really learning what was important to my colleagues and important to their areas. So I think that process absolutely helped me. And what was your other question? I apologize.
I was just asking, outside of redistricting, how the legislature has really helped you kind of, find this path and really prepare you for the kind of things you could be facing as AG.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have a pretty diverse legal background, which is just a byproduct of being in a small law firm. But at the same time, I've handled all different kinds of legislation since I've been in the legislature. Carried bills for law enforcement, carried bills for state police, for the District Attorneys Association, just everything you can think about, I've carried. I've helped do legal reform. I've just all kind of different things that I've been lucky to carry since I've been in the legislature. And I think it builds that diverse background. It builds a lot of the elements that you need in order to run a successful office. And then I'll go back to it again, my colleagues. One of the best things about serving in the legislature is the relationships you develop with your colleagues. I've built some lifelong relationships with people all throughout this state. And that's something definitely, as a small town guy from Crowley, I didn't have before I ran. And so I think that's really has helped me understand this state and understand the diverse population and interests of the state.
And the Attorney General has to take on major offices when they file these lawsuits sometimes. You could be suing your own governor, the President of the United States. It's a difficult decision and a big job. So you feel that you'd really be up to taking on these major cases?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, look, I love the law. It's why I went to law school, and it's why I'm a practicing attorney. That stuff is very interesting to me, whether I'm a nerd or not when it comes to that. But yeah, look, I've never been scared. You can look at my time in the legislature. I've never been scared to take a challenge on and try to find a solution to that challenge. And I would represent the people of Louisiana to the best of my ability and not be scared of a fight, because I never have been.
And we still have some time, so others could still throw their name in the race next to you. But, why should voters pick you, and what really sets you apart for anyone else who may want to take this seat?
Yeah, first and foremost, like I said, I love the state and I love the law. And this is a unique position to where I'd be able to maximize both of those things. And then secondly, I'll continue to say it. We have a huge growing problem in this state with the violent crime, and it affects everything. It affects our families. It affects our tourism. affects the citizens of Louisiana's daily lives. And we need to use every resource that this state has in order to start combating that. And as Attorney General, that would be one of my top priorities, to make sure that we're doing everything that office can to combat violent crime.
All right, John, well, we're going to be following your election very closely over the next year. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the time.
We'll be right back.
This is your local election headquarters.
Looking ahead to the coming week, on Monday, Senate Education will be meeting to talk about the backlog of teacher licensing. That'll be at the Capitol at 9:30 in the morning. On Tuesday, the Keep Louisiana Beautiful Conference kicks off. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser and other speakers will be talking. For the midterm elections, the deadline to register for in-person or by mail is this Tuesday. Election Day is November 8th. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics. I'm Fred Childers. Stay informed, and I'll see you next Sunday right here on your local election headquarters.